Hello everyone, my name's Nick Green and I'm an artist based here in Glasgow. I make all kinds of work with all sorts of people, however everything I make celebrates the possibilities of liveness. Sometimes my work resides in theatres or performance spaces and other times responds to site, place, materials or natural systems. I try to respond to the context I find myself within rather than laying preconceived ideas or outcomes upon people, place, or environment. In the past, I've made many invitations for participation. In one piece, I encourage women from all walks of life to dance wildly together, naked. I celebrate their physical diversities and explore the complexities of gender identification. Collaboration and listening is at the heart of everything I do, which is why the forms of my work tend to be varied. I try to follow the buzz. As well as my work for theatre or designated performance spaces, I've also made pieces for woodlands across Northern Europe, for outdoor sculpture parks, for cricket grounds, for 100-year-old Japanese houses, for city farms, for the length of the River Thames, and for disused docklands. For the past 4 years, I have lived on a boat both on river and canal systems around Glasgow. The performativity and possibilities of the river have provided much inspiration and instruction for me when it comes to making performance. But it's also brought about many questions, and this is what I'd like to talk to you about today. One of the things that I have noticed is how little the river is accessed or enjoyed in Glasgow. Much of the land flanking the river, especially to the west of the city, is either industrial or fenced brown site. Most riverside land is inaccessible to the public. Indeed, you can't see the bank of the Clyde from Clyde Bank. In the 15 years I've lived in Glasgow, when it comes to the River Clyde, I've been more readily reminded of an industry's death rather than a river's life. I've been surprised by how an ecological life force such as a river is so commonly associated purely with industrial or economic contribution or lack of. This is due to a history, of course, of work and worklessness, which still causes painful and turbulent ripples even in second and third generation shipbuilding communities. Perhaps there's a sense of loss associated with our river, which makes it difficult to enjoy, appreciate, or transform environmental relationships. It's too big to go into detail here, but the geography of our river city is undeniably tangled with notions of economics, class, and symbolically with gender. Spaces are not only gendered, but in their being so, both reflect and affect the ways in which gender continues to be constructed and understood. I wanted to respond to all of this, so I created Turn, which begins as a celebration of the natural cycles and transitions that surround, form, and influence our lives. Planetary to human, it marks the interaction of turnings on many scales. The project took place in Govan, a district to the west of the city on the south bank of the river. Work took place in many centres, buildings, and on the streets over a matter of years. However, the performances happened in the Govan Graving Docks, a fenced brown site disused for 30 years. Performances coincided with the new moon, the full moon, and the last day of the lunar cycle, all within one lunar month. All of the performances coincided with the low, turning tide, marked by the ringing of bells. Sometimes it rained. As part of the performance, we heard the voices of women who were celebrating their birthdays on that particular day, who, over the course of an hour, described the turnings of their own lives. This is Colette, who told us about falling in love with a Spanish woman unexpectedly, escaping an abusive marriage, her time in a psychiatric unit, and her gradual recovery to health. Across the performances, the stories were diverse. Their voices were broadcast live from on-site over a local radio frequency and listened to through little metal speaker boxes held by the audience. The spoken voices were accompanied by a choral score amplified from within the belly of the dock. Coming together specially for the project, an eclectic group of singers worked with us for 5 months to develop the music for the piece. We affectionately called them the Ringer Singers. We were able to reflect and bounce vocals and the sounds of bells off the docks, creating echoes and resonance. I considered the use of bells and the creation of the bells within the community as both a memory of a past sound world, the hammering of metal hulls, and a gesture of movement or an invitation for reimagining the potential of space and place. Bells in themselves have a cultural quality of transition, and for centuries we've used them to mark changes or turning points. I came to think of dock number 3, where the piece took place, as a kind of giant mouth, offering something abstract, beautiful, and ever-changing in a transitioning, shifting landscape. The space is alive. Each turn bell was hand-cast specially for a group or individual from Govan, and each is individual in shape and sound. All were cast in bronze at Galgale, a local charity offering a place for folk who have been, in their words, battered by the weathers of life. This work continues. Turn began with ideas of transition, transformation, and potential, and ended with a system of performance presenting ideas of change and impermanence. I've never made a project like this one before and probably won't again, and I only just completed it just over a week ago, although as a result of the project, much work continues. It's still soon to reflect on it all. However, I feel that Turn was really about the capacity that life has to adapt and survive, the resilience found in the instinct to grow, and the stories of how change happens. The thing about turning is there's always another side. I'm breaking the rules. A different way to see, somewhere new to go. A small act in the face of all this, perhaps, but putting something beautiful on a forgotten dockland is political in itself. We must exercise the freedoms we still have, cut through the fences, and come together to use our voice. I've brought some bells with me and also some other literature if you want to take anything away. Thanks.